Well, good morning, friends, and welcome back to the Berean Post and our studies in the Gospel of Mark. Once again, I'm Dwayne. I'm just a fellow traveler sitting with the text and letting it confront me first, and then inviting you to join me in the same journey. And today we're going to step into Mark 5. We're going to be looking at verses 21 to 24, where a respected leader does the unthinkable. He throws himself at the feet of Jesus because death has come to his door. So I want you to picture it like I always do in the heat of with the heat rather of the sun pressing down, dust hanging in the air from boats pulling ashore. Jesus has just come back from the Decapolis where he freed a man possessed with a legion of demons, left him clothed and in his right mind. And before that, he calmed a storm with just a word. And so words of those things already began to outrun him. And now we see him stepping back onto Galilean soil, and there's a multitude waiting for him. And you can tell the sweat of the people and the smell of the fish. You can hear the noise of the people pushing and shouting because everybody wants to see him. Everyone wants to get close to this man from Galilee. And then the crowd parts. Let's jump into the text at this point. It says, "And behold, one of the rulers of this synagogue came down, Jairus by name. And when he saw him," meaning Jesus, he fell at his feet and begged him earnestly, saying, "My little daughter lies at the point of death. Come, lay your hands on her that she may be healed, and she will live." So Jesus went with him, and the great crowd followed him and thronged him. So Jairus. Everybody in Capernaum knew who Jairus was. This was the ruler of the synagogue, the one who oversaw worship, organized the readings, kept the sacred scrolls safe. His presence carried weight, and his word carried some authority. But now, in front of everyone, he collapses. He falls down in the dirt at Jesus' feet. And the synagogue bows before the rabbi of Nazareth. See, titles crumble fast when death is at the door. Now, this is what he says. He says, my little daughter lies at the point of death. Come lay your hands on her that she may live, or be healed rather, and live." And Mark preserves rather the tenderness here. The phrase used is "my little daughter." Luke adds that she was his only child, about 12 years old. And we can see that his whole future is hanging here by a thread. Matthew says it even more bluntly. He just says, "My daughter has died." However you phrase it, the desperation is the same. Jesus believes, Jairus believes that if Jesus comes, life will triumph over death. This just isn't a cautious curiosity. This is like faith born out of real desperation. But then let's look at Jesus' response, because Mark tells us simply that it says that so Jesus went with him. There was no questions, there was no lectures, there was no conditions. The King of Life walks with a desperate father towards a dying child. But the crowd is thronging him, pressing from every side, and Luke says that they nearly crushed him. And every step for Jesus really must have felt like an eternity to Jairus. You can imagine his desperation. Move quicker, Jesus. And faith had carried him to Jesus. Now faith was going to be tested by delay. Faith is not just tested in the cry, but faith is tested in the wait. Mark wants us to feel the weight of this moment. A man of respect, a guardian of the synagogue, lying in the dust before Jesus. Respectability collapses in the face of desperation. Authority bows before greater authority. And Jesus responds, not to status, but to faith. For Mark's first readers, many of them outsiders, that was good news. The kingdom of God isn't for the clean and the respectable. It's for the ones who actually really need him, meaning Jesus. So Jairus, he forces us to wrestle with ourselves. If you're an outsider, comfortable, respected, in control, are you willing to follow Jesus' feet? Or do you still cling to your title? Hide behind your title, borrow strength and power from it. If you're an outsider, and you're desperate, ashamed at the end of yourself, don't believe the lie that that your need disqualifies you. Just because you have a need, it doesn't disqualify you. In fact, Jairus shows us that desperation is the doorway of faith. And for both the insider and the outsider, here's the challenge. Will we keep trusting him when the steps feel slow? When the crowd delays and when time feels like it's running out? Again, faith isn't proven in the cry for help. It's proven in the long walk home. But in Jairus' story, the story doesn't finish here. The one on the way to his house, on the way to the house, someone else will break through the crowd. Another desperate soul with her own story of loss, and her interruption will teach Jairus and us what kind of faith holds on when hope seems gone. And that's where we're going to go next. If Jesus could walk with Jairus towards a dying daughter, he can walk with you in your desperation too. That's a hope that Mark wants us to see. Once again, friends, thanks for joining me for this episode of Study in the Gospels. And if this spoke to you, please share it with someone who needs encouragement today. And also, please don't forget to subscribe. It's a small step. It helps the channel out a lot.